There's one right hand technique that could be holding you back from reaching your full playing potential. Have you ever noticed that when you're trying to play a scale passage, your right hand kind of struggles to keep up with what your left hand is doing? And there's this kind of inconsistency or unevenness when it comes to playing melody lines, and your playing might sound a little bit choppy. It can also lead to uneven dynamics where when you're playing, maybe one note pops out too much and another one doesn't quite sound loud enough, and this affects your overall timing and synchronization of both hands. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned player, mastering this technique will enhance your ease of playing and overall fluidity. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the technique string crossing, and we're going to define what is string crossing. We're going to talk about its common challenges, and then we're going to explore some practical techniques so that you can improve it and get better. So let's get started. Let's define what string crossing is. Simply put, it's just the movement that your right hand makes when you're crossing over from one string to another. So here's what it looks like. I'm going to start on the second string and then cross over to the first string. Here I'm crossing over. The main idea that I want you to understand here is that it's more easy to play single notes on the same string than it is to have to play multiple notes on different strings. So when you have to add in this string crossing, that's where things get a little bit more difficult. I can't tell you how many times I've seen players struggle with this in performance, and I think it's often a technique that's overlooked. And also, I really think that the students are not even aware that that's the problem that they're having. So this is a crucial technique for you to play your scale passages and melody lines more smoothly. And our goal is for you to be able to transition from string to string seamlessly so that when you play your music, it has that flow and it sounds effortless. Now let's talk about some of the common problems that people have when it comes to string crossing. So one of the main reasons that people struggle with this is because the length of our fingers are different. So if you take your I and M finger, which is the most common alternation that we use, you'll notice, right, that your middle finger is longer than your index finger. And this is what can make it awkward when you cross from string to string. So for example, if we take that same passage that I played earlier, where we have this, but if I start with my I finger and I go index, middle, then I have to cross over with my index finger, this string crossing is a little more awkward because my index finger or my I finger is shorter, right? And so I have to make a little more of an effort or movement to cross strings. What would be easier is for me to start the passage with my M finger because my M finger is longer. So when I cross strings, it is more natural for me to ascend the string with my middle finger rather than my I finger. So there are many different right hand fingering combinations that you can use when it comes to string crossing. For the sake of this video, we're just going to be focusing on the string crossings between your I and M fingers. So yes, you should be able to still string cross using both your I and M fingers, no matter which way you're going, ascending or descending. But I want you to understand that principle that whenever possible, you want to try to ascend the strings with your middle finger and descend the string crossing with your I finger. Now let's get into some exercises so that we can start improving your right hand technique. This is going to be quite a simple exercise, but it is very, very effective, and it comes from the book called Pumping Nylon, which is a great technique book by Scott Tennant. And these are the things that I want you to keep in mind when you do this technique. So you can play it either free stroke or rest stroke. Let's practice it rest stroke though, because that's typically the more difficult one of the two, and it's usually where people have more trouble. So we're going to play it rest stroke. The second thing I want you to focus on is try to produce a good sound. Now we're going to use our I finger, and we're going to play all the strings one at a time like this. Now as you do that, the most important thing for you to think about is as soon as you play one string, I want you to immediately take your index finger and rest it on the next adjacent string so that it's already prepared and ready to go. This is what slows people down when they try to play scales, is they'll play something, and when they have to string cross, their index finger is not prepared. It might be back here or something, and then they have to move it forward. That's what makes your playing sound choppy, disjointed, and that's where you get all the problems, okay? So this is the main thing that I want you to focus on for this exercise, is planting your finger immediately after you play the string like this. Plant, 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 and then on the way back down, it's much easier because you essentially just do a rest stroke and your finger is already planted on the string. Now let's do the same thing but using our middle finger, okay? So you're going to stroke the string and then plant, 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 plant. I'm kind of thinking the rhythm in my head is like da-da, 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 the first hit is my stroke. The second hit is when I should be planting my finger. So it's da-da, right? It's stroke plant, da-da, da-da. So it's plant, 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 plant. Practice that until that feels comfortable just using your index finger and your middle finger. Now for the second exercise, we're essentially going to do the same thing, but we're going to alternate between your index and middle fingers. Now this is where things get a little more challenging because you're actually going to experience you making the string cross every time you move from finger to finger. Let's start with our I finger, and as soon as you play with I, you're going to immediately plant your middle finger. And then when you play with your middle finger, you're immediately going to plant your I finger on the next string. Now this is where things get tricky because, like I said, it's always more difficult to string cross when you're ascending the strings with your I finger because it's shorter. But that's why you want to practice this exercise. So you're going to go index, plant, middle, plant, index, plant, making sure that you plant as soon as possible after you play the next note. Then we're going to descend and do the same thing. And you can repeat this as many times as you need. Now let's do the same thing, but start with our M finger. This is going to change a little bit where the string crossings are. So we're going to go M, I, M, I, M, I, and descend. Make sure that when you are practicing this, you are immediately placing your finger onto the next string, okay? I know I say immediately. Anytime I tell a student, immediately plant your finger, there's, for whatever reason, tends to be still a pretty big delay between the point of them stroking the string and then placing their finger on the next string, okay? You want it to be as instant as possible because that's what we're training here, is getting the string crossing so that it's a quick, smooth, and fast transition, okay? Of course, you're going to take it slow at first, right? If playing it really fast is too difficult, that's fine. Start with it slow before you can speed it up. But I just want you to be aware, maybe you might not be planting as fast as you think you are, so keep that in mind. Once that alternation becomes comfortable, then we can try the third variation of this exercise, which is to add different rhythm, where I can play the exercise using triplets. I can use dotted rhythms like a dotted eighth note and the reverse of that. So I'll show you what that looks like. So if you play triplets, it might sound something like this: 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. You can do dotted eighth notes, which would be something like this: 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2. Or you can reverse that, and let's reverse which finger that we're starting with. Let's start with our middle finger and go 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a. Okay? Practice all these different variations because you will get better. And this is especially helpful when you're studying a new piece of music and you're trying to finger your right hand. A lot of times what I like to do is go into my music and find all the string crossings and put in the ideal string crossings for all the places that need it, and then I work my way backwards from there. So I would highly recommend that you start practicing these string crossing exercises as part of your kind of daily routine, as part of your daily practice session. It should really only take you about 5 to 10 minutes, so it's super simple for you to add into your practice routine. Leave a like and subscribe if you guys got any value out of this video, and happy practicing. I'll see you in the next one.